it crazy that people are still doing $50 and $75 gigs? And part of it is the fact that business people are business people, and they know how to make money, and they know that we love to play music. And in the end, they know that giving us a chance to present our music and play music, we'll do it for something that somebody else. I mean, you would never go to a doctor and say, hey, could you do this for $50? It's like, no, actually not. But you can approach a musician that way, and we'll go, yeah, actually, I will do it for that, because I love the music so much.
Everybody's chasing down $100 gigs. We were making $100 50 years ago.
The only people who can afford to play jazz are wealthy people, and that's where it's going.
What is jazz?
Whatever you define it to be.
What do you define it to be?
Ask me on the first break.
Okay.
I'll think about it.
One night I was in there and we were playing along, and all of a sudden you hear this, two guys fighting, and then we heard this bam, bam, and someone shot a gun off.
I found a CD in the garbage at work of people making notes for the next year of how they're going to change the services in their church. And I found that in the trash, and I cut it up with knives.
When I was coming up, I played in a lot of bands, and I got stomped on by a lot of guys a lot older than me.
It's a feeling. You either have it or you don't have it.
Black people are the worst. Black church people will tell you, what you do it, you give your talent to God, but they're paying the preacher.
It's not a matter of race or color.
And then I was a street musician, and I got stomped on by a lot of guys a lot older than me.
You got a generation of people that dictate what should be out here, and live music is not one of the things that they really think about,
And they took him back in the alley and they tied him up.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And then they turned on the buzz saw,
And then you heard this, and that was me.
And it hurt.
I didn't want to go right to E flat major 7 because the chart says, hey man, it's the book says E flat major 7, you're on the bandstand, bass player's going, what's he doing? Because he's going on E flat major 7, and this guy's going, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's always working together, man, listening to each other, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's got their creative expression. And the whole thing is making that thing dance with everybody and listening to each other and knowing what to leave out to let other come in and all that time. And there's a time for everything. There's a time for you to, whatever, man. Sometimes it doesn't come out the way you expect it, too. That's the fun of it, man.
And the music stopped. Everyone stopped. And then you hear this gentleman saying, what are you looking at? Play the bass, motherfucker. Play the bass. And I said, and you hear me going, play the bass, motherfucker. Play the bass.
And I think that the younger people coming up, they don't have the benefit of that anymore.
It's a matter of your relationship with your background and your culture.
The minute you put a label on it, it kind of confines it and restricts it to only just that. You know, well, he's got to have the blues notes in there. He's got to have, you know what I'm saying? Or he's got to have chromaticism in it. Right? Or he needs arpeggios in it. Right?
And recorded it, and it was completely skipping all over the place, and then it would stop. And I learned how, by tapping on the machine, how to tap it to get it to jump to various places. So the instrument became tapping the machine with a defective CD in it, but all voices.
For the last 100 years, jazz has been primarily supported by middle-class white America. And then now that it has become very academic, it has moved away from the very, very essence of its inception. And several of the very prestigious jazz schools want to eliminate blues from the jazz curriculum.
Basically, the economically elite can afford to go to the jazz schools, and then they can afford to get no work somehow once they get out of the jazz schools.
So you're going to the Brubeck Institute?
That's right, in Stockton, California.
Okay, what are you expecting to learn or get out of this experience?
Just to be better at jazz, really. Learn tunes, be able to play with the music more, play with other people.
Club owners are gaslighting musicians. We're made to feel lucky to have a stage to play on.
Julian, do you feel that you're going to be able to make a living as a jazz drummer 5-10 years from now?
It's going to be difficult, but yes, I do feel like I can.
I'm behind the bass player. The bass player's behind his bass. The bass is behind the drums. We're all hiding because we're afraid of being shot. That was a typical night. Back in the mid-70s, it was scary.
Jazz is freedom. Jazz is, as Abby Lincoln would put it, a spirit. It's a music that is passed down soul to soul without words, but communicated by this extraordinary language in music. And jazz makes you jump. You have to jump off the edge.
Pick up an instrument, repurpose it, find a hole in the world and go crazy and be working, from 4 a.m, go to work all day, work till 3 a.m, and I get a little recorder and try to get the stuff down and create a new world of sound that I've never heard. And I've always felt that I need to get that down because I'm not a good enough jazz player to go out there and do standards and blow away the bazillions of great players.
With Spotify and all these kind of rip-off .com and tech companies that really marginalize the value of creative assets, songs.
27 times this was listened to and did not make me a millionth of a penny. So I used to get like a 300th of a penny when people would listen. And sometimes on foreign things, I'd make up to 3 cents. And if somebody recorded the whole CD, I'd make up to 6 cents.
Look how many jazz musicians do you know that are successful, that have anything? Not too many. Not too many. or else they marry somebody that has something. You know. It's not an easy field. It's not an easy field, and it's not lucrative at all. We're lucky if we make 100 a night. That's it. We get. I pay the guys. Each guy gets $75 plus tips. We end up $100.
When I first started, it was $10 for 4 hours, but we made it. And now, actually, in terms of the competition with the other professions, they don't do much better, because if you go on a job and you only make $100, that's nothing. Because you don't see, in those days, you used to play in one joint maybe for 5 nights or 6 nights a week, and that was where you made your money, but not now, not here. You play one job here, and you're lucky if you play another job this week, you know, and the price is going down to nothing, you know. $60, $70, that's not enough to buy cigarettes with you, you know, so it's a real tragic, but it's the reality of life. That's the name of the game, so we just look at them and laugh and go on and do our business, you know.
I remember when I was a grad student, I spent some time in Costa Rica doing geology, and came down to the capital, San Jose, for a weekend, to kind of take a weekend off. And I remember coming back to my hotel late at night, about, 11 o'clock, and the streets were empty. And I could hear there was a guy who played the accordion with one hand and played the trumpet with the other. And he played these kind of old ballads, classic kind of old jazz ballads. And yet hearing the trumpet and the accordion kind of behind it, kind of wrapped around it, in this kind of canyon of empty, downtown streets, was so haunting and so beautiful, that it was, that was one side of jazz, which is it allows you to remember moments of your life with an immediacy and a piquancy, right? In other words, an intensity that really brands that moment in your memory forever.
Club owners are killing jazz by marginalizing the profession of music into that of a hobby, by paying us wages frozen over 50 years ago.
I just wonder, what's going to happen with all these young people that are graduating from college, jazz musicians. Where are they going to play? As a matter of fact, where are a lot of bands going to be playing, because they use DJs now. There's very few clubs that use live bands. They use DJs. It's the era of the DJ.
Will jazz survive sort of as a hobby?
Definitely. It'll survive, period. They can't do that. I mean, they might kick it, but it's here to stay. Definitely.
Every year, the club owners pay increased costs for utilities, taxes, licenses, the cost of alcohol, and employees' salaries, but they will not pay musicians any more than $50 to $100 a night.
Jazz, as we know it, is gone.
The reality is, even the very, very top professional musicians complaining that people don't go out to hear music anymore. They don't go to clubs anymore. They don't go to hear live music. I heard Esperanza Spalding say the other day on a national TV show that even people at her level are kind of scrambling to find jobs, to find gigs. And that's, of course, because of all the kinds of media things that we have, and turn on your TV or your computer, and it's all there. So why go out?
The demographic is like very, very yuppie, and they're kids, and they have a different way of partying. You give them TVs, plants, and a brass rail, and they're happy.
In the 50s, a lot of the young, radical African-American cult Turks got on Pops's case. They called Pops and Uncle Tom. And because they said, man, this cat's always smiling and this, that, and the other. These are the angry young men. And so Charles Burrell told me, he said, first of all, Louis Armstrong loves what he does. He has that smile on his face. The audience is smiling. And he said that he's smiling himself all the way to the bank. At the end of the evening, the audience goes home satisfied. You are an entertainer first.
I'm the observer as a musician. I consider my job not as an entertainer, but as an observer of stuff. And I paint my painting of what I see. I take that all into sound, and that's what I do.
They don't go where there's music. They go where there's TVs.
But still those days, those lonely days, go on and on. And guess who sighs his lullabies through nights that never end? My fickle friend, oh, that summer wind. Guess who sighs his lullabies through nights that never end? My fickle friend, oh, that summer wind. Oh, that summer wind. Oh, that summer wind.
Thank you.
Jazz is a hard mistress, let me tell you. It will call you. It calls the crowds. You either are going to fall by the wayside or you're going to be there standing at the end, you know? And not everyone is.
There were a table of young ladies sitting at a table about this long. One of the young ladies there had a birthday. The server came over, put shots in front of them. They started singing happy birthday while the band was playing Green Dolphin Street in 7. That's how connected the band was with the audience. So you know what? We are our worst enemies. We're killing ourselves.
When I die, a friend of yours is going to die, and you're going to feel bad because you're going to not have me in your life, and it'll be a little different, and and you'll get used to it. But we were in each other's lives. It's a beautiful thing. For me, everybody I've ever loved in my life is going to die on the same day. I mean, it seems like there should almost be a word for that.
I would call that jazz.
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 Jazz. Jazz. Jazz.
Kerasakti. Gini sayang Andi, saya narik kerasakti Sun Gokong mencari ilmu dari timur ke barat. Itu.
We don't even think about it from the perspective of the dying person.
Hey, sweetie, can you tell him to turn that down, please? Whew.
What are you delivering it that's going to sell product for them besides your music, your art? You have to start looking at that thing. And I would have known that. I think I would have, of course, I would have still played and studied guitar. I love it, you know. It was too exciting, you know what I'm saying? The electric guitar was stunning. But I couldn't, if I was to do it again, I would do something else for money.